now year 3 of the state takeover of Houston Independent School District. Under Superintendent Mike Miles' leadership, the district has posted on Friday significant gains in student achievement. No campuses received failing grades this year, and the number of A and B rated schools has nearly doubled. High school STAR scores have improved sharply, even surpassing state averages in Algebra 1 and biology. But alongside these academic gains, HISD still faces growing challenges: declining enrollment, teacher retention. The district lost nearly 7,400 students this school year, about 4% of its total, and some of the steepest drops are at schools under the district's new education system. Joining us now is HISD Superintendent Mike Miles to talk about the progress, the pushback, and what comes next for the state's largest district under the state control. Superintendent Miles, welcome back to Hello Houston.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
I will say that. I mean, no F-rated schools, and then the D schools went from like 65 to 18 or something.
That's correct.
So I mean, the proof is in the pudding.
Mm-hmm.
How about these rollouts that have happened in the last couple of days, these like curriculum changes? I was reading about Durham Elementary, and some of the complaints were that you had to wait for all of these ratings to come out and then change curriculum at the last minute for second and third grade teachers.
Yeah, so just to recap, we went from 121 D and F campuses 2 years ago to 18 D and no F rated campuses. On the other end, 93 A and B rated campuses 2 years ago to 197. So we more than doubled. 197 out of 273.
Right.
For the first time in the history of Texas schools since the accountability, not one HISD student walked into an F-rated school, and 74% of all of our students walked into an A or B-rated school. If you look at a map of Houston and where the schools are, the A and B schools and the D and F schools, or no F schools, but D schools, you'll see that zip code no longer dictates how well your school is doing. So that's huge. As far as recent changes, look, we adjust all the time. And so the curricular changes is actually curricular support for schools that may be struggling. And when I say curricular supports, it's we provide the lesson objective, the demonstration of learning, the mini quizzes, the answer key, the actual PowerPoint, the differentiated instruction, the different texts. We provide everything. So there's not a huge period of adjustment.
Yeah, that part was being praised. I think it was the suddenness that was getting complaints.
You're listening to Hello Houston. We are speaking with HISD Superintendent Mike Miles. If you would like to join the conversation with a question for Superintendent Miles, you can call or text 713-440-8870. Now, Superintendent Miles, for listeners who aren't completely up to speed, who develops the rating criteria and the evaluation for TEA rankings?
Yeah, that's done by Texas Education Association Agency, TEA, and so Texas Education Agency, and they're the ones who develop the accountability system. It's a combination of STAR exam scores, closing the achievement gap scores, graduation rates, college and career military readiness. They have a big formula for all of that, and then that's how we get our A through F ratings, and then the overall accountability score for Houston.
And it's egalitarian across the board. It's not on a bell curve or anything like that.
No, there's different ways to assess that. You get a score, for example, on most of the STAR exams for growth or achievement, which is the proficiency level, and most districts can choose which one they use.
So, but I think that's essentially where some parents and community members have some concern whenever you are the agency that ranks your own success. Isn't that like if I were grading my own test?
Yeah, I think very few people have that, and there's no real argument there. The Texas Education Agency is using the same metric across 1,200 districts, and they're scoring the same way they've always scored. And we've shown on STAR exams, NWA MAP exams, on NAEP, the national assessment, we've shown that our kids are actually reading at grade level. Nobody's arguing that the increase in the number of kids who can read at grade level is there. It's a fact. The number of kids who can do math at grade level, do algebra at grade level, all of those things is a fact. And so that should be celebrated. We got some naysayers out there that are still trying to push a different narrative, but the success is so great. Their voice is becoming, and their comments are becoming more and more an outlier.
What do you attribute, now it sounds like an obvious question, but what do you attribute the success of this to? Because many superintendents have wanted to have stronger schools. Many have questioned the techniques and the policies and the way it went about it. But as Frank said, we see these higher results. What do you attribute this change to?
Yeah, thanks for asking, because that's, we don't get asked that as much as we should. It's not magic. It's not easy. And it doesn't happen by happenstance. It is serious, complex, intense work. And the Commissioner of Education, Mike Miles, talked about what he thinks it takes for any district to improve, and it's very similar to what we've been doing here. So, number one, we have an intense focus on the quality of instruction. Quality of instruction from day one. I know that some people think that's too much, but it takes 181 student-teacher contact days of good instruction for kids to achieve like this. So there was a lot of complaints about increasing the number of days of school, and so it should be no mystery that we did increase the number of days, and we start from day one. Tuesday was the first day of school. Kids were learning on the first day of school. That's number one. Number two, you have to have a way to ensure that your staff capacity grows. In other words, the teachers have to be effective. They have to be coached well, supported well from day one. Yes, we have a lot of new teachers or teachers who are working towards certification, so you have to have a system that really gets them up to speed quickly. You have to have strong principals and instructional leaders as principals. But the most important thing, there's lots more to say, it's raising the expectations for both students, teachers, and principals in the entire system. Students will rise to the level of expectation. So if you're a fourth grader, you get fourth grade content, not second grade content, not third grade content, fourth grade content. Now, in order to do that when kids are behind, you have to have good, I'll use an education term, you have to have good scaffolding. Mm-hmm. And you have to have good instruction by the teacher. That's what we've done.
Here's a question that's just a little different. So have the number of kids in HISD that are required to go to summer school, has that gone down? Because I know that HISD is very strong on promoting a third grader to fourth and a fourth grader to fifth. They do not fail students, as far as I know. But have the summer school kids, is that less now?
I think, I don't have the exact number for you, but I think it's about the same as it was the summer before and the summer before that. We send a lot of kids to summer school, but we also have more kids going to summer school as a choice. And so
and Superintendent,
overall numbers are up.
Could you clarify, HISD does fail students?
Do you or do you not?
We do fail students.
I know they don't want to. I mean, I know they try very, very hard.
That's right.
Not to fail students.
We don't want to fail students if we can help it, especially in the early grades. Mm-hmm. The development levels are different, and so you want to be careful about holding a kid back. At the same time, at the high school level, for example, there's state guidelines around students having to attend 90% of the
Speaking of guidelines,
like
have some of the federal cutbacks, has that affected like kids that need special help when they're in school, like sitting in front of the class, having extra time on a test, that kind of thing? Has that affected HISD?
So at the moment, no is the answer. We are able to do what we need to do so far this year.
That's great.
You know, I want to talk about going back to the rating scores. I recently was learning a little bit about Rodriguez Elementary, and Rodriguez Elementary is in Gulfton. It's a very interesting position, or located elementary school, and their ranking went up, I believe, but their scores had gone down, and their ranking had gone up based on achievement, but one of their scores had gone down. Can you explain to me, when you're looking at the ranking, there's achievement and accountability. What are the differences between those two?
So there's without getting too technical with your listeners, there's different what we call domains. One is growth, one is achievement, one is closing the gap. And so based on all of those things, you get an accountability score. Mm-hmm. So it is possible to have your achievement go up, your growth go down, or your closing the gap score go down, and then have a slightly lower score. On total, though, I mean, the listeners should know this for a fact. If you are getting more kids to read at grade level, do math at grade level, and the other subjects at grade level, your accountability will go up. It will be a rare thing that it doesn't.
It's almost like a Venn diagram, sounds like, and you want it to meet in the middle so that you get the strongest out of all of it.
Yeah, I mean, people can look at the various scores. It's a lot of scores, and we have 273 schools, so there's lots of scores to look at. In the end of the day, the accountability rating is a pretty good measure of whether or not your proficiency level is going up or down or not. And so there may be a school here or there where technically, they went up 5 points here and 2 points there and 3 points down over here. In the end of the day, this district did what hardly anybody thought was possible, which is go from 93 A and B schools to 197. Our black and brown kids who are challenged by poverty and language barriers are now learning in mostly A and B schools.
That's great. If anyone has a question for Superintendent Miles, and he's here about another 20 minutes. Yeah, and we always get these people saying, "Well, you should have asked him this, and you should have asked him that."
There are still a lot of critics.
Yeah. So why don't you call us 713-440-8870?
I do want to bring this up. At a Senate Committee for Education meeting, Texas Education Agency Commissioner Mike Miles called these gains nothing short of historic. So then the question becomes, have you done your job? You are ready to pack up and head out? Is that what Houston parents can expect?
It is nothing short of historic, and we get calls from lots of other places about how we're doing it and can we help. But look, we have so many kids who are still behind grade level. Mm-hmm. We have so many students who aren't where there's so many schools where there's still an achievement gap. And all means all in HISD. So yes, we've had historic gains, but we are not done.
So here's an interesting text from Mark Collette. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the gist of it is that we're setting a low bar to bring everyone up to passing. And so we aren't shooting higher. And my kid's HISD elementary principal was fired by Mike Miles, and our teacher turnover has been awful amid all of this. My high-performing students have not been sufficiently challenged because all the district is focused on is bringing up low performers to passing. How do you respond to that?
Well, look, I'm the one who says we shouldn't be looking at approaches. That's a passing score. I say we need to look at meets and exceeds. And I keep telling the news media, stop focusing so much on approaches. Doesn't mean you shouldn't report it. I'm saying look at meets and exceeds. That's where you're reading at grade level or above. And it's frankly not true that we're not helping the kids who are doing well. We had 82 for A and B rated schools when we started among the PUA schools, the non-NES. So not the low-performing schools, 82 A and B. Now there's 102. So that's an increase of 25% in just 2 years for the PUA schools. And NES schools, I mean, A and B is not just passing. A and B is meeting grade level. So those schools are doing well, and you're getting fewer and fewer voices like the one you just mentioned, who are just an outlier with regard to the scores.
All right, we are speaking with HISD Superintendent Mike Miles. We mentioned that we would love for you to join the conversation. The number to do that is 713-440-8870. Mark from Upper Kirby is on the line. Mark, what's on your mind today?
I just want to compliment Mr. Miles. Sorry he has to deal with the negative rhetoric in this city about what he's accomplished in a very short period of time. I think he's turned this school district around, and I think people should appreciate that.
All right, fair
Mark,
enough.
thank you for that.
Thank you for that.
It's interesting. A lot of people have praised your work. I mean, there was an opinion piece that came out that actually called it glorious, what you have done at school. Yet at the same time, though, there are community groups, there are teacher organizations and stuff that look at and decry the teacher turnover, the loss of trust, the enrollment decline. How do you merge all of this in your own head?
So, you have to look at not the anecdote, but the actual data and the sentiment across the district. That sentiment is changing. We know that from survey data. And when you hear in some of the media the same voices, you said teachers union. Do you even know how many teachers are in the union? Either one?
I don't.
And nobody reports that. So you have the same teachers union leaders saying that, being quoted over and over again, when they represent less than 800 teachers out of 10,500. And that's even what I just said was probably generous. I think HFT has 500 and some. And that's probably going down. That's a year-old data. So, that's the voices. And even among the union, the union leaders are extreme. So they have never said a positive thing. They have not celebrated our kids' success. They bring no solution. So how do I parse that? I just don't listen to the voices that are being part of the problem.
Sounds to me like you're full steam ahead. So what are there other changes coming that people need to know about?
So one of the good things, and I think the reason why more and more people are convinced that this is the right way to go, is that we haven't had that many changes since the first year. I mean, the big changes were all done, whole scale, systemic reform, were all done in the first year. Last year was a mirror of that. This year's a mirror again. That doesn't mean we aren't making some improvements and some changes. So we overhauled the transportation system, for example. So that's a change. We keep improving the curriculum. There's minor changes to that. So basically, it's full steam ahead. Yeah. But now we're focused on making sure our lowest performing schools are raised up.
Well, I do have a question about that. We are seeing, the positive. However, there again are still a lot of concern and criticism around the way things were happening. How are you changing and building trust among those parents that are still very concerned about their kids' school and education?
Yeah, well, we are getting information out. We're working through principals. We've improved the website. We have HISD Now. HISD Now is our live streaming service, and we're getting great comments and postings from HISD Now and other things that we do to communicate well with the public. And I think that, I want to keep challenging, Celeste, the amount of public pushback and criticism. That has fallen. And so, yes, you had the same people saying the same things over and over again. And it sounds like there's still pushback. And there is some. But it's a big district. It's 175,000 kids or so. We'll see what the enrollment is after another week or so. It's 175,000 kids. It's twice as many parents, and then people without kids in this city.
And like you said, that first year was so juggernaut that I think that's what brought so much criticism. And even though it hasn't changed that much in the last 2 and 3 years, there's still that wave of well, we got to find something to criticize.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there were some people who bet against the reform.
Yeah.
And they said it wasn't going to be successful, that the NES wasn't going to work, everybody's going to leave, it's going to destroy public education as we know it.
As we know it.
And so some people are still trying to find a way to say, well, it's not successful.
Yeah, I know we have a call.
Yeah, before we grab the call, I want to quickly ask you said full steam ahead, and I'm just curious how often you reassess the initial plan you came in with 2 or some odd years ago, and how you evolve or change or revise that plan.
Yeah, so we look at the outcomes, right? I mean, there hasn't been a focus on outcomes. And last year we did, the first year, we ended the school year up with only 41 DNF campuses after 121, and our A's went from 93 to 170, so almost doubling in 1 year. This year, the same thing, right? We got F's down to 0, D's down to just 18. So, there's always some reflection on improvement, but we don't need to, reinvent this wheel. We don't need to make dramatic shifts, because this is the most historic and successful transformation in the country.
We're speaking with Superintendent Mike Miles, and we'd like to take your calls, 713-440-8870. I got lost in my own brain on that one. John is on the line from Southeast Houston. John, what's on your mind for the superintendent?
Yes. Thank you so much. I just want to give some kudos and then positive constructive criticism, if that's such a thing. Number one, I just definitely want to say that I've seen a difference in the teacher pattern and in administration pattern. I really want to give you kudos for getting the principals and administrations from behind the desk into the classrooms. And I think that was very diligent on your behalf for really pushing the not only the instruction from the teacher aspect, but from the administration to the teachers so that the students can feel it. The constructive criticism, I will say, though, is my son went to a middle school that went through 3 principals. I think that there's a little bit of an underbelly that some of the administration, even being a parent in some of the schools, that, hey, what you don't want to do is kind of go against the administration. And when you do, that could possibly mean your job or you get moved out. And obviously, you're going to have some people that test the waters, and we definitely know that it's your operation, and you kind of have to have control. And sometimes people don't like change, but I would really just suggest that as we move forward, listen to the community. There are some communities that really love their principal, and with the teachers and the parents working together so fluently, if there's a good formula that fits, I would just suggest that sometimes that we look into that versus expelling or letting go of some of our good administration. But other than that, I just want to give you kudos.
Yes,
thank
John,
you, John.
Thank you for that.
There's been some suggestions that your administration has been a bit draconian in the way they go about that. What's your response to John on that?
Well, first of all, I think those are the kinds of nuanced comments that makes, that I listen to and I really appreciate. Those are the kind of criticisms that we have to reflect on and do something if we need to change. So the context, having said that, is the first year. At the end of the first year, we had 90. At the start of the second year, we had 92 new principals, new to HISD, and this year we have 42 new principals new to HISD. So some principals got moved to another school.
Again,
so
out of how many, just so folks know? 273.
So that is really a change model that makes sense. In other words, we had to get instructional leaders the first year, so we had to train them up or coach them out. The end of the second year, we trained many more. And and some people move on their own, like they're retired. We had 4 people retired. We had some get promoted. In fact, we had several get promoted and things like that. But next year you'll see a halving of that. We'll cut in half the number of new principals, and then that'll probably be steady state.
Well, I was going to ask, if I'm a principal, what would I have to do to get fired?
It's all about instructional leadership and outcomes.
And Superintendent Miles, so people understand the structure. From what I understand, is there are also location type superintendents. Is that right? Can you explain that to us, how that works?
Yes, we call them division chiefs.
Division chiefs.
Maybe you're familiar with area superintendent.
Area superintendent.
Yeah, so we have 4 areas, and those areas are called divisions. And so we have a chief of each division. We also have a chief of schools over those 4 chiefs. So that's what a division chief is. And then they have executive directors of instruction. Each executive director of instruction has 6 or 7 principals under their charge.
All right, we have some calls waiting. We have Marie from Midtown. Marie, what is on your mind for Superintendent Miles? She dropped.
Okay, let's.
Well,
Again,
we got carried away with our conversation.
We are speaking with
let's go.
HISD Superintendent Mike Miles.
Let's see if Anna is there from Rice Military. Anna, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Can
All right.
you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. What's on your mind here?
I just want to kind of make sure that people understand what has been going on with public schools and what's still going on right now. Just because the ratings have changed from D's or C's to A's and B's doesn't mean that the students are succeeding and the teachers and parents are happy with it. There has been a record number of people coming out of public schools and trying to find private schools to go to because they are so unhappy with what is still going on. And like, I forgot the name of the woman who mentioned this earlier, but yeah, you can change a rating, especially for the one in charge of how the school is being rated. It's pretty easy. And just because you're going from maybe a grade D or a C to an A and B, I don't know if it's worth having to make children test for hours a day just to do that. They took away libraries and fired the librarians so that they could turn those centers into retesting sites. So these children are simply taking tests for hours a day so that they can get it until they get a high enough score to qualify for whatever the school district thinks is good.
And I'm going to pause you right there so the superintendent has a chance to respond.
So just totally false, inaccurate, probably never stepped into a real classroom or a real school. Really, the team centers, the libraries are retesting centers that all we do is take tests. If it was that easy or that misguided, then why wouldn't other districts get A's and B's or change their ratings? If it was easy to change a rating, other districts would have done it. Houston would have done it before. They would avoid takeover. But it's hard work and it's really strong instruction. It's not test taking over and over again. In fact, I was the one, the union complained about it, that we didn't do STAR practice tests before STAR. And we do so many other things that are not even related to STAR. The biggest thing, for example, is the Art of Thinking course for 3rd graders through 10th graders in 130 schools that are about critical thinking, information literacy, and problem solving. 3 times a week, 90 minutes each time. That's a huge investment. It's like $20 million just to do that. Mm-hmm. And there's no STAR test for that.
Yeah. I remember HISD was being criticized for decades that they just taught the test. And after the test was over, they took the books away. So you're right. You can't just teach it. It never worked.
In the end of the day, the kids can read better. That's a fact. The kids can read at grade. More kids are reading at grade level than ever before. They're doing math at grade level. We have 70,000 more kids in A and B schools. And you can try to poo-poo it all you want. The fact of the matter is our kids are doing great and our teachers are doing great. One other thing about that, if you can't even celebrate the kids, that's not honoring the teachers. Go to the celebrations I went to last week. Last week I went to several celebrations. The kids are screaming and yelling for joy. They're applauding their teachers. The teachers were celebrating the increase in scores and the increase in the ability of kids to read and do math. They worked their butts off. Everybody says they do. They get the results. They're happy about it. And then we just say, that's easy to do.
No.
And
That's crazy.
So-
That's not honoring teachers. Let's do better.
So,
than that.
Superintendent Miles, speaking of honoring and doing better, teachers, like you said, work extremely hard. I've always said it. My daughter goes to an HISD elementary school. We had our back to school. We are very proud of our HISD elementary school. Talk to us a little about teacher evaluation, because there has been some controversy, some confusion about pay and how it is based on merit and not experience. Just give us a quick recap of how that is changed this year.
Yes, so we started a pay for performance system this year, meaning the evaluations will be tied for next year's salary on their student achievement and the quality of instruction, and a couple other things, but those are the big things. Mm-hmm. So teachers will be evaluated this year, and they've been evaluated every year. It's just that we didn't tie so closely achievement and instruction to compensation. So they'll be evaluated rigorously, and then they will be paid based on achievement and instruction.
Again, before we go back to the calls, I'm just curious. We talked a lot about vouchers last week on this show. I'm curious, are you fearful of resources being pulled as a voucher program comes into effect?
I don't know how much vouchers will impact the district. I know this, though. If we continue to have A and B schools and good instruction and kids being happy to go to schools, despite what the last caller intimated, children who are coming to our schools and their parents are happy that the kids are getting better scores. And so if we keep doing that, we will compete with vouchers and charters and others.
I know I asked this question last time you were here, and you said it's a nuanced answer, and that's attrition rates to college. But there is military service and vocational training. So you have to take into sort of consideration what's the percentage of kids that are ready to move forward when they graduate. And now you've taken them from, I guess, sophomore year to senior year. Do you have a new answer for that, or?
So, I mean, it is early days yet. The transformation's only been here 2 years. Yeah. So we will see, though, as kids move forward, as students move forward, students more prepared for college or a high-skilled job. And truly believe that pipeline will get stronger and stronger. And when Good Reason Houston put out this livable wage document that shows that the kids who graduated in 2017, 6 years later, only 17% of them had a livable wage. One of the things that's in that report is that you have to also look at your early grades, especially middle school. Look at Algebra 1. Look at 8th grade ELA. If those scores are down, those kids in their high school experience will be poorer, and they won't have a livable wage 6 years from now, or 6 years after they graduate. So we believe that our increase in proficiency in ELA and in math across the board, not just high school, but elementary and middle, will just redound or compound the strength of our kids.
We're speaking with Superintendent Mike Miles. You can join the conversation at 713-440-8870. We do have a few calls on the line. We'll start with Steve from Midtown. Steve, what's your comment or question for Superintendent Miles?
Hi, my question is, what are some of the specific changes that you've made that you attribute this success to?
So there's a long answer. I'll just do the short answer. Probably the biggest one is improving the quality of instruction, just focusing on that. When I got here, for example, I asked the principals my second week here during principals training, what does quality of instruction mean? What does it look like? We had 150 different answers from 273 principals. Because there wasn't a focus. There wasn't principals going into the classrooms often, training the teachers, and training them on what? So many different things that the principals were doing, and most of it was not related to instruction. So that was probably the biggest thing. The second thing I want to emphasize again, when times are tough or desperate, and you have to make a lot of changes, it really starts with a belief that things can be done. And most people didn't believe that the schools could improve. I mean, even principals didn't think they could move their school like we wanted them to move. And so what we had to do is put in higher expectations and help principals and teachers believe that it could be done. Right now, that belief is as high as ever, and that's why I feel confident that the next few years are going to still be strong for HISD.
We're going to take a call from Doug from Katy. Doug, what's your comment or question for Superintendent Miles?
As Superintendent Miles, I'm retired military like you are. I was just wondering, you were in the military as well, how that training helped you in turning around Houston's public schools.
Yeah,
Thank you, Doug.
I think that the military, and I had the fortune to work in some pretty high performance cultures in the military, including the Army Rangers, and there's no excuses for failure and for not getting the job done, and there's high accountability and high expectations, and I think the education is not the military. So let's get that straight right away. It's different, but as far as the culture, as far as expectations, and as far as leadership goes, there's the two circles intersect quite a bit. To go back to your Venn diagram example, but so I think that and leadership. Look, education needs also to be okay with saying, this is how we do it here. This is how we operate. And, superintendents and boards are afraid to say that these days. And in Houston, we say that to incoming teachers or incoming principals. This is how we do it here.
Well, good luck. We want you to succeed, that's for sure.
That's great. Thanks
for being here.
Superintendent Mike Miles from Houston Independent School District. Again, thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thanks for having me, guys.